Hello there. This will be music to the ears of Nigel Farage and Richard Tice. Their party, Reform UK, is rising in the polls. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and then like and comment below. This is just another headache for a besieged Rishi Sunak as Reform UK starts to firm its standings in the polls. The latest poll from YouGov shows Labour down 1 point on 47% compared to the 48% they had a week ago, the Tories down 3 points on 22%, the Lib Dems with no change at 9%, and now Reform UK rising by 4 points to hit 9%. Then the rest are unchanged, with the Greens still on 5%, the SNP on 4%, Plaid on 1%, and the rest on a combined 2%. So it looks like Reform UK has benefited from the drop in Labour and especially Tory support. And the more polls we see like this can only end up improving the standing of Reform UK. And the downturn in support the Tories are experiencing will not be helped by articles like the one by Alistair Heath in The Telegraph. An article that neatly sums up the total disarray the party is now in and the damage it's caused. This was meant to be a government of experts, of cool, calm, competent professionals, yet the Sunak administration has almost completely lost its grip on everything that matters to anybody who might ever vote Tory, he writes. And a perusal of the comments section below the article will not fill Rishi and his MPs with any confidence that they might survive, let alone win, the next general election. So it's hard to see them coming back from this. Too many bridges with their grassroots supporters have been burned. And probably many membership cards have been given the scissor treatment too. To the point that many former Tory supporters would probably rather stay at home on polling day and watch Labour shred the country further for a couple of terms. While some are saying that what Rishi and his team are engaged in is a scorched earth policy to ensure there is no country to pass on to Keir Starmer. But the truth is that the Tories, Labour, the Lib Dems, the Greens, in fact, anyone sat in that Westminster pit of self-indulgence are just about all cut from the same cloth. So many of them are anti-UK and want the country and its heritage destroyed for the sake of net zero, wokeism and EU membership. Anyway, it's not just the Tories having a hard time. Poor old Ian Blackford has been forced to stand down as the SNP leader in Westminster. Just last week he was saying how much he was looking forward to being re-elected as the leader at next week's SNP Westminster Group's AGM after a coup to topple him had failed. Sounds like all is not well amongst the Scots nationalist MPs. And suddenly Blackford's now talking about not standing at all and giving someone else a chance. Has someone had a word in his shell-like to tell him he no longer has the support of his fellow MPs? That they would be supporting the Aberdeen South MP, Stephen Flynn, instead? In fact, it's been said that the majority of SNP MPs want ABB. Anyone but Blackford. Has his closeness to Sturgeon rocked the boat for Blackford? Especially as many of the SNP MPs are unhappy that Sturgeon plans to use the next Westminster election as a de facto independence referendum in Scotland. And then there's his private call on his colleagues to rally around the now discredited Patrick Grady. And when that all fell around their ears, Sturgeon took no action against Blackford. Now, SNP MP Joanna Cherry tweeted that she was pleased to hear about Blackford's decision not to stand, and added that it's time for fresh leadership and tolerance of debate and diverse viewpoints. I hope the SNP Westminster Group will now be left to choose our new leader without outside interference and in accordance with our standing orders. Is she saying Blackford was intolerant and that Sturgeon was given to interfering with their leadership decisions? Well, that would be a surprise, wouldn't it? But Blackford is not leaving Westminster, so the SNP team will be as heavyweight as ever, and the Speaker might get to slot in a few more questions at PMQs as well. And another MP who's made a decision is one who's decided to stay. And that's Boris Johnson. He's told his local Conservative constituency party in Uxbridge and South Ruislip that he intends to stand again at the next general election, and his constituency party fully supports him. But with the Partygate inquiry, you do have to wonder if he'll be forced to face that election much sooner than that, if he wants to stay in politics. Now, according to one energy trade body, the Tory plans to increase the energy windfall tax to 75% will cause many of the smaller producers in the North Sea to go bankrupt or pull out. The Association of British Independent Exploration Companies, called Brindex, has written to the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt to warn him that its members face ruin if the plans go ahead, reports GB News. And a spokesman for Brindex, Jacques Thome, told GB News that we're talking about what is a Treasury-inflicted complete collapse of the North Sea. Because it turns out these small firms account for 60 to 70% of oil and gas production there. And the reason they say there's a danger of a collapse is because there is no floor price to paying that windfall tax. So if the price of oil and gas drops back to normal levels, i.e. there are no more windfall profits, then they'll still have to pay the 75% windfall tax because there is no floor to the windfall tax profit level. Just what net zero requires to shut them down. Then we can watch our country's economy collapse. Talk about a degrowth agenda, more like a growth collapse agenda. Now, avian flu is wreaking havoc with egg and bird meat supplies across the world. So far, avian flu has affected the availability of things like chicken, turkey and eggs. But not just in the UK, it's also happening in the EU and the USA. In fact, Reuters recently reported that bird flu had wiped out over 50.5 million birds in the US, the worst animal-related disaster in US history. And as a result, in England, farmers have been ordered to keep their birds inside. And we are now approaching a time when the 16-week grace period for keeping free-range chickens indoors and still being able to label their eggs as free-range is coming to an end. That means that soon there may be no English free-range eggs available, only barn eggs. And that leads to extra costs, such as egg farmers being forced to rebrand all their products. But get this, the EU is looking at extending that 16-week period in these exceptional market conditions. That is, the EU is preparing to reduce its food standards. And our egg industry wants to do the same. But free-range eggs are more expensive than barn eggs, and if after 16 weeks the eggs that previously free-range chickens produce are no different to barn eggs and the hens are treated no differently, then why should they still attract a premium price? And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.